Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. We got some more Kansas City Royals and Baltimore Orioles here in the post 1961 Bats League. Leading off for KC is Johnny Damon playing left field, batting second playing center field Wilson, batting third playing third base Brett, batting fourth on the catching is Perez, batting fifth playing first base is Mayberry, batting sixth playing right field is Tartable, batting seventh playing second base is Mayfield, batting eighth playing shortstop is Escobar, and batting ninth and on the mound for Kansas City is ZACK. And for the hometown Baltimore Orioles, leading off playing second base Roberts, batting second playing right field McCavis, batting third playing shortstop Ripken, batting fourth playing center field Anderson, batting fifth playing left field Robinson, batting sixth playing first base Powell, batting seventh playing third base Brooks Robinson, batting eighth on the catching is Chris Hoyles, and on the mound batting ninth is Jim Palmer. Let's get down here to Camden Yards and get this game started. And they'll lead it off for Kansas City's Johnny Damon. He was 0 for 4 in the first game, going up against Jim Palmer. And this is Palmer's 1975 season, where he was 23 and 11 with one save and a 2.09 ERA. And here's the pitch to Damon. And that's going to be a fly ball in the right field. Nick makes the catch for out number one. And up next is Willie Wilson. And Wilson was 0 for 4 in the first game. And that's going to be a fly ball out to the left field. That's going to be a nice play out there by Frank Robinson. Makes a nice catch. Quick 2 outs here in the top of the first. And George Brett comes to the plate. And George was 0 for 2 in the first game. And he gets a hold of this one off of Palmer. See where this one ends up at. And that's going to be a double in the right field. So George Brett with a 2-out double. And Kansas City's got a runner in scoring position now in the top of the first. And Perez is up. And Perez in 2021 batted .273 with 48 homers and 121 RBIs. And that's going to be a ground ball down the first. And Duke's going to toss it over to Palmer covering, and that'll end the inning. So the 2-out double gets stranded. It's Kansas City nothing. Orioles coming up. Roberts, Marcavis, and Ripken due up. And Brian Roberts was 1 for 3 in the first game, batting .333. And ZACK, this is his first appearance of the year. And in 2009, he was 16 and 8 with a 2.16 ERA. Here's the pitch to Brian. And he gets a hold of this. He's going to against the righty. And that's going to be a double in the left field. So Brian Roberts starts this game off with a leadoff double for the Orioles. Right away, they got a runner in scoring position. And Nick Marcavis comes up to the plate. He was 0 for 4 in game number 1. You drive in Brian here. And that's going to be against an 18. And that is going to be a ground ball down the short. And he's going to look the runner back to second. Fire over to first. And that'll be out number 1. So now Cal Ripken's up with a 1 out and a runner still in scoring position. Ripken was 1 for 4 with an RBI in game number 1. And he gets a hold of this one. And that ball is far. How far is this one going to travel, folks? That is the question. Let's see here. And that's going to be a single in the right field. And Danny gets over there quickly and heads it off. Let's see here if Roberts can score here with one out. Danny's got a hell of an arm. 23 or lower. So it's going to be first and third, maybe. Let's see. Anderson's up next. First and third. Yeah, it's going to be first and third. And one out. And Brady Anderson's up now with a runner down at third. Ripken at first. And Brady was 2 for 4 in the first game. Can he deliver here? And that's going to be against a 17. And that's going to be a base hit in the right field again. And see if Ripken can get down here to third on this. He should. He doesn't have great speed, but and Ripken will get down to third with no throw, and it's quickly 1-0. Baltimore still first and third. Kansas City needs a double play ball in the worst way. And that'll bring up Frank Robinson. Frank was 0 for 3 in game number 1. Here's the pitch to Frank. And that's going to be a ground ball down the short. And with the defense back, that's going to be the old 6-4-3 double play. And that'll end the inning. But the Orioles score 1 and take a 1-0 lead going into the top of the second. And we got Mayberry, Tarterbull, and Mayfield due up. Alrighty, now we got Mayberry due up here. And John in 1975 batted .291 with 34 homers and 106 RBIs. And that's going to be a base on balls. First walk of the game for Palmer. Got a runner down at first, tie and run. And Danny Tarterbull comes to the plate. And Danny in 1991 batted .316 with 31 homers and 100 RBIs. Alrighty, let's see what Danny can do with a runner down at first. And that's going to be a 40. And let's see here. 4, 10, 17, 19, 28, 31. Right fielding column 1. Wild pitch runner to second by Wild P3 only. He's not, so that's going to be a rare play. 65 and a 40. And that'll be hit out to center field. And Brady's out there. And that's going to be a fly ball out to center. And that'll be out number 1. 1 up and 1 down here. And Merrifield due up now. And he was 0 for 3 in game number 1. And that's going to be against 19. that's going to be a single in. That'll be an infield hit. And KC now with runners on first and second, and only one out, trying to tie this game up. And Escobar is up for the first time this year in 2012. He batted .293 with 5 homers and 52 RBIs. And that's going to be a swing and a miss. Palmer's first strikeout. That's a big one. Now there's 2 outs and still 2 on for ZACK GREINKE. And in 2009, he batted a .167. See what he can do here. And that's going to be a ground ball down to Brian Roberts. He fires over to Boog at first. Now to win the inning, Kansas City strands 2. We go to the bottom of the second. Still a 1-0 Oriole lead. We got Powell, Brooks Robinson, and Hoyle was due up. Boog was 2 for 4 with a homer and 2 RBIs in game number 1. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Johnny Damon for out number 1. Brings up Brooks Robinson now. And Brooks was 1 for 4. He had a homer and an RBI in game number 1. And that's going to be a ground ball down to Escobar at short. Over to John at first. And that's quickly 2 outs here in the second. Chris Hoyles is up. He was 0 for 3 in game number 1. And that's going to be a swing and a miss. He strikes him out. And that's Zach's first strikeout of the game. And we go to the top of the third. We got the top of the order due up here for KC. Damon, Wilson, and Brett. Johnny's 0 for 1 today. He flew out the right. And that's going to be a flying ball out to center field. Anderson makes the catch for out number 1. See KC's upcoming schedule. Got one more game here in Baltimore. Then they travel to Minnesota. Then they go back. They can go home to Kansas City. Baltimore shows up there. Willie Wilson's 0 for 1 today. He flew out the left. Not this time. Wilson gets a hold of this one off of Palmer. And that's going to be a single in the right field. And let's see how long Wilson stays down at first. Tries to stay down at first. He'll be taking off here, I would imagine. Yep. So Wilson will be a 30. So 56 or lower, he's safe at second. He's in there with a stolen base. So Wilson's down at second now with 1 out, and George Brett, who had that double back in the first. See if he can drive in the tying run here. Wilson's great speed, a single will do it. That'll be a base on balls. Brett walks on down the first. That does set up the double play with Perez up there. Might not have been a bad move by Palmer, pitching around Brett. And Perez did ground out to first his first time up. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Nick in right field. Nick's got a cannon, but Wilson with that speed. Let's see if he can tag up here. And that'll be a re-roll of dice here. A 2. That'll be a 38. 21. And he's going to stay put because he can score on a single. No use getting thrown out at third. So now I'll take a 2-out hit by John Mayberry to do the damage. John walked his first time up. And that's going to be a ground ball down to Brian. He tosses it over to first. And again, KC strands 2. And it's still 1-0 Baltimore. And we got Palmer due up, followed by Roberts and Nick. And Jim comes to the plate for the first time. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Damon and left for out number 1. And now you got Brian Roberts up. Brian doubled, came around to score the only run of the game so far, back in the first. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Damon. And that'll be 2 fly balls to left this inning and 2 outs. Let's see if Nick Markakis can hit it somewhere else and have something good happen. He grounded out the short his first time up. And he gets a hold of this one. See where this one's going to end up at. And that's going to be an infield hit by Nick. And just like that, the Orioles now with 2 outs got a runner down at first for Kyle Ripken. Can they add to this 1-0 lead here? Ripken singled his first time up. And that's going to be a pop up down the third. Brett makes the catch. And the Orioles strand 1 to the top of the 4th we go. You got Tartable, Merrifield, and Escobar due up here. And Danny's 0 for 1. He flew out the center. And that's going to be a ground ball down to Ripken. He fires across to Boog for out number 1. And now you got Merrifield due up. He singled his first time up back in the second. And that's going to be a swing and a miss. Palmer strikes him out. We're out number 2. And that brings up Escobar now, who struck out his first time up. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Frank Robinson, and that'll end the inning. And Kansas City goes 1-2-3 in the 4th. Get to the bottom of the 4th. We got the big boys due up here, Anderson, Robinson, and Powell. And Brady had that RBI single back in the first. And that's going to be a fly ball out to center field. And Mookie's out there and makes a nice running. Mookie Wilson's out there and makes a nice running catch. And that'll be out number 1. That brings up Frank Robinson now. And Frank's 0 for 1. He grounded into that 6-4-3 double play. And that's going to be another fly ball out to Wilson. 2 fly balls to center, 2 outs. It's up to Boog Powell to get something going here in the 4th. And he does. That's a single in the right field. Powell gets aboard here with 2 outs. Brings up Brooks Robinson. And Brooksy's 0 for 1. He grounded out to short his first time up. And that's going to be a fly ball out to right field, and Tartable makes the catch. Orioles strand 1 to the 5th inning we go. We got GREINKE due up and back to the top of the order in Damon and Wilson. And ZACK's 0 for 1. He grounded out to second. And that's going to be a rare play, a 16 on a 36. And that's going to be ball 1. So 1-0 pitch to ZACK. And he comes back. Jim does and strikes him out. That's Palmer's 3rd strikeout of the game. Now Johnny Damon's up with 1 out and nobody on. He has flown out to right and center. And not this time. Damon gets a hold of this one. See where this ends up at. And that's going to be a double in the right field. Damon with a 1-out double. He's in scoring position. Tying run down at second. And Willie Wilson's up. And Wilson is 1 for 2. He singled back in the 3rd and stole second. And that's going to be a ground ball. Fielding come to ground ball back to the down to first. Powell's up with it. He throws over to Palmer covering, but the runner will get down to third. 2 outs, and George Brett's up. And Brett, he is 1 for 1. He's doubled in the first and walked. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Frank Robinson. And Kansas City strands a runner down at third. It's still 1-0 Baltimore as we go to the bottom of the fifth with the bottom part of the order due up. Hoyles, Palmer, and then back to Robinson at the top. Chris is 0 for 1. He struck out his first time up. And that's going to be another swing and a miss. Zach's got his numbers so far today. 2 strikeouts of Hoyles. That's his only 2 strikeouts of the game for Zach. And Palmer, he flew out the left his first time up. And that's going to be another fly ball. This one to center field. Wilson catches it for out number 2. And back to the top of the order we go. And Brian Roberts. And he's doubled and scored in the first. And that's going to be an infield hit. Brian gets aboard again. So now with 2 outs, Robinson down at first. And let's see if Nick Markakis can drive him in here, folks. And that's going to be a ground ball. Nope, that's going to be a swing and a miss. He strikes Markakis out. And that'll end the inning. The Orioles strand one to the top of the 6th we go. Still a 1-0 Oriole lead. You got Perez, Mayberry, and Tartable. And Perez is 0 for 2. He's grounded out and flown out. And not this time. Perez gets a hold of this. Let's see what this leadoff hit will be. And that's going to be a double in the right field. So a leadoff double. Again, a tying run down at second. Palmer pitch around this one. That brings up John Mayberry. And John's 0 for 1. He's walked and grounded out. And that's going to be a fly ball out the right field. Nick makes the catch for out number 1. And Danny Tartable's up now. And Danny is 0 for 2. He's flown out and grounded out. And that's going to be a 19. That's going to be a ground ball down the short. And that's still fielding column 1. And he'll look the runner back to second. Fire over to first. And now there's 2 outs, and that leadoff double is still down there at second. So it's up to Merrifield to do something. He's 1 for 2. He has singled and struck out. 35 and a 9. 19. And that's going to be a ground ball. 53 and a 2. That should be fielding column 2. Yep. That's going to be a ground ball down the first. Powell's up with it, tosses it over to Palmer. And the leadoff double goes nowhere. Palmer pitches around it. And it's still 1-0 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. You got Ripken due up, followed by Anderson and Frank Robinson. Cal's 1 for 2. He's singled back in the first. And that's going to be a ground ball down to John at first. He takes it himself for out number 1. Brings up Brady Anderson now. And Brady's 1 for 2 with that RBI single in the first. And that's going to be a base on balls. Anderson walks on down the first. Brings up Frank Robinson now. Insurance run down at first. Anderson's got great speed. Frank's 0 for 2. He's grounded out and flown out. And that's going to be 2 balls and no strikes on him. Here's the 2-0 pitch. And he comes back and strikes Robinson out, folks, after falling behind 2-0. So now it's up to Big Pow to drive in a run here or keep this inning alive at least. He's 1 for 2. He singled back in the 4th. And that's going to be a 18. That is going to be a ground ball. Nope, that's going to be a swing and a miss. He strikes Boog out. And that'll end the 6th inning. To the top of the 7th we go. And a 1-0 lead. Baltimore hanging on to it. Only run so far is back in the first inning. You got Escobar, a pitch hitter for ZACK, and back to the top of the order. Escobar is 0 for 2. He is struck out and flown out. And that's going to be a 19. That's going to be a fly ball out the neck. So 1 up and 1 down here. And that'll be it for ZACK GREINKE. As we'll have a pitch hitter for ZACK. See who's going to come out of the dugout here. And UL Washington's going to come out of the dugout. Switch hitter, he'll bat left. Let's see if he can get aboard here. With 1 out. And nobody on. And Washington was 0 for 3 in game number 1. Here's the pitch from Palmer. And that's going to be a ground ball down to Ripken. He fires over to first for out number 2. And that brings us back to the top of the order and Johnny Damon. And Damon's 1 for 3. He doubled back in the 5th. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Anderson, a 1-2-3 inning. We go to the 7th inning stretch and a 1-0 Baltimore lead. And Dan Quisenberry is going to come out of the bullpen for the Kansas City Royals. Try to keep this a 1-run game. And in 1983, Quisenberry was 5-3 with 45 saves and a 1.94 ERA. He's got Brooks Robinson, Chris Hoyles, and we'll see what happens with Palmer here. Depends what happens with the other 2 guys if we pitch it for Palmer or not. And here's the pitch to Brooks. And that's going to be a fly ball out to Tartable in right field. He makes the catch for out number 1. Chris Hoyles now comes to the plate. Chris is 0 for 2. He struck out twice against ZACK. And that's going to be another strikeout. Give him a hat trick. Chris Hoyles strikes out for the 3rd time. Quisenberry's first strikeout of the game. We're going to let Palmer hit since nobody's on in 2 outs. And he's pitching a shutout. Palmer is 0 for 2. He has flown out to left and center. And that's going to be a ground pop-up, down the 2nd. And that'll end the inning. And 1, 2, 3 goes Baltimore. To the top of the 8th we go. Top of the order due up here for KC. You got Wilson, Brett, and Perez, the 2, 3, 4 hitters. And Wilson's 1 for 3, singled and stole a base in the 3rd. And that's going to be a swing and a miss. Palmer strikes him out for out number 1. And now you got George Brett up, and Brett is 1 for 2. He doubled and walked and flown out. And that's going to be a ground ball back to Palmer. He tosses it over to Powell. That'll be 2 quick outs here in the 8th. Now you got Perez up. And Perez is 1 for 3. He doubled back in the 6th. And that's going to be another swing and a miss. Palmer strikes out 2 out of 3 here in the 8th. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Baltimore still leading 1-0 here. So now you got Roberts, Makakis, and Ripken, the top of the order, due up here against Quisenberry in the bottom of the eighth, trying to keep this a one-run game. And Brian's 2 for 3. He has doubled and singled, came around to score the only run back in the first. And that's going to be against a 16. And that's going to be a pop-up down the second for out number 1. 1 up and 1 down here in the eighth. Nick Markakis is up now. Nick's 1 for 3 today. He singled back in the third, grounded out and struck out his other 2 times. And that ball is well hit. See what happens with this one, folks. Against Quisenberry. That ball is hit into the gap in right field. So a 1-out double by Nick. The Orioles got an insurance run down at second. Cal Ripken up now with only 1 out. Can he drive Nick in? Give Palmer a little breathing room. Cal is 1 for 3. He singled back in the first. And that's going to be a swing and a miss. Quisenberry strikes him out. It's Quisenberry's second strikeout of the game. And it's up to Brady Anderson to keep this 8th inning alive here. Brady's 1 for 2. He had the RBI single, the only run driven in the day. And that ball is high. How far is this one going to travel, folks? That is the question. And that ball is off the top of the wall. He didn't quite get it all, but that'll drive in Nick Markakis. And make this a 2-0 ball game. It's Quisenberry got it just out of the sweet spot. Brady thought he had a homer, but it was off the wall. That brings up Frank Robinson now in a 2-0 game. Robinson is grounded out, flown out, and struck out. And against a 16. And that's going to be a single into left field. And let's see here, 48. He might score, and Quisenberry's falling apart here quickly. 48 minus 28. And Anderson with great speed, probably going to score with no throw, and he is. That's an RBI single by Frank. And all of a sudden now it's a 3-0 ball game. Boog Powell comes up. And this will probably be Quisenberry's last batter one way or the other. It's Quisenberry here with 2 outs. Can't get that important 3rd out. Powell is 1 for 3. He singled back in the 4th. And that's going to be a 37. Pass ball by PB3. Nope. So that'll be a rare play. A 35 on a 37. And that'll be hit out to right field. Tartable's out there in right. 25 and a 1. That'll be fielding column. So that was a 7, and that'll be a single run. Single to right, batter to second on air, runner to third on air. With 2 outs, the runner will score. So it's going to be an error on Tartable. The batter's going to get down to second, so that's going to be an E9. Runner on first. And the batter gets 2 bases. And all of a sudden, it's a 4-0 game, and Quisenberry's out there shaking his head. Should be out of the inning now. Should be out of the inning. But Tartable air mails that one. Sends that ball to Kansas City. And you got Brooks Robinson up here now with 2 outs and a runner down at second in a 3-run inning. What once was a close game isn't now, as Jeff Hunter joins us here. And that'll be the final out of this inning. That's a fly ball. Tartable doesn't screw the pooch this time. Wait a second. I forgot that was a single. I'll go back here. It's supposed to be a single and then in the air. Let's give Powell a single. Forgot about that. Give Powell a single. Then the air. So it was a single, then an E7. Runner on first. And the batter gets an extra base. And now the fly ball to Tartable. Okay, and now the fly ball to Tartable. And now to win the inning, but the Orioles score 3 and give Jim Palmer some insurance out there. So Palmer trying to go the distance to get the complete game shutout. Mayberry, Tartable, and Merrifield due up here. John's 0 for 2. He walked back in the second, grounded out and flown out. And that's going to be a fly ball out to center field. Brady's got it for out number 1. And Tartable, who had that big error, comes up now. Can he make up for it and get on base here? He has flown out and grounded out to short twice. And that's going to be a base hit in the right field. So Danny's trying to keep this game alive after screwing the pooch in the field. And Merrifield's up now. And he's 1 for 3. He had a single back in the second. Runner down at first and 1 out. Orioles looking to turn 2, and that's what they're going to get. That's a tailor-made double play. Ball hit down to Roberts, over to Ripken, and over to Boog, and that'll end this ball game, folks. And the Orioles win 4-0. Complete game shutout by Jim Palmer. Take a look here at the box score. I'm sure it's about the shutout. Yep, Palmer's first shutout of the year. And Kansas City, no runs, 6 hits and 1 error. Baltimore, 4 runs, 10 hits and no errors. Kansas City had their opportunities, 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position, left 7 men on base. Jim pitched around some problems, give him credit. Look at the top of the order there. Roberts and Markakis both 2 for 4. Brady Anderson was 2 for 3. Boog Powell was 2 for 4. The Orioles batted .500, 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. They didn't waste no time getting the job done. They left 6 men on base. ZACK GREINKE drops to 0-1, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 run, walked 1, struck out 5. Quisenberry comes in. His defense and himself didn't help out much in that 8th inning. Pitches 2 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned, struck out 2. Jim Palmer goes the distance for his first win, 6 hits, no runs, walked 2 and struck out 5. Like I say, we'll take a quick look here. It ain't much to look at here with the standings after a game. 2 games now. How about that Dave McNally with his homer? Let's see here. And Boog and Palmer. And you got Aaron and Rocker. Like saying a lot to look at here. Let's check what the next game here for Baltimore and Kansas City, what the pitching matchup might be. And that's probably not going. Oh, that's it. Go back to the second. I think it's a 3-game series. Yeah. And it looks like it's going to be Kevin Appier. And let's see here. Who's going to go up for Baltimore? I'm not sure who's going to go up for Baltimore yet. I don't think it's going to be Messina. I want to thank Jeff Hunter for joining us here today. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for reminders, and on your way out, hit that like button and leave a comment. Till next time, you all have a great day and take care.